been so long since we last spoke. You guys must be clueless. The skies in Australia have turned blood red. And no, that is not a filter. Huge protests have swept across America, and this time, they were the silliest yet. The war in the Middle East has expanded yet again after Yemen's Houthis launched missile attacks for the first time. More and more evidence is now building that the US are about to begin extensive ground operations in Iran. Streamer Clav has been arrested, and I feel like Alex is gonna enjoy that story just about as much as he enjoys the speed ones. And finally, we can end the comments about where my hoodie is from. All of that and so much more. So, man, it's good to be back. Let's stop the yapping and let's go back in. Okay, usually we cover 6 to 8 stories per video, but because we missed 2 videos last week, I believe, today is like 12, 15, so we need to get through them fast. Firstly, holy hell, have you seen what's going on in Australia? Yes, it looks like hell. I mean, this is actually the exact, like, to the point, to the minutia, exactly what it looks like in hell. This is exactly the color I imagine the apocalypse will look like. So, over the weekend, the skies in parts of Western Australia turned blood red. And I know, it is hard to believe. You assume that this is a filter or AI. No. This is 100% real. And the reason why is because a tropical cyclone basically kicked up a lot of iron-rich dirt that turned into giant dust storms. And we've also heard that the storm named Cyclone Narelle became the first in over 20 years to make landfall in 3 Australian states and territories. History yet again in 2026. Someone needs to be keeping notes, all right? I'm not gonna say this again. It's not gonna be me. Or Alex. And I mean, talking about sandstorms, fortunately, us, the people without an empire wandering the wilderness for an unforeseeable amount of time, I'm working on it. We haven't encountered a single dust storm, thanks to Alex, not editing the dust storms in. Moving on! And then over to some updates about the war in Iran, because boy, just things continue to spiral. And honestly, after reading the updates over the weekend, I'm at this point where I'm like, how does this war end? Because I don't think the US can just be like, all right, it's done now. First update is that the war has expanded yet again. I know that they're trying to contain it, but damn. So now Yemen's Houthis, they're like a military group. They're not exactly an official military, a military group. They entered the conflict for the first time, launching multiple missile attacks at Israel. Some reporting that it was 2 missiles, but others reporting that it was more. And while, yes, that is significant in and of itself, the Houthis, to be completely honest, they're not exactly a very well equipped group, let's say that. But they are equipped enough to do some real damage if aimed at the right area. And for us, it would be the very wrong area. If they start targeting commercial ships like they've done before off of Yemen's coast, well, we already have the Strait of Hormuz, which is cooked, but not many people know that Yemen, they've also got their own crucial shipping point known as the Strait, yes, sounds very familiar, of Bab al-Mandab, okay? Listen properly. And let me tell you, if that strait as well gets a significant reduction in ships, well, guess what? The global economy, which is already being beaten up and bruised right now, and fuel in your car is getting cooked, well, guess what? It would take an even bigger hit. So let's hope they don't watch this video and get any ideas. And also, I don't feel like I should even be talking about this for some reason, but remember that Yemen sits right next to Saudi Arabia and also a lot of other Gulf countries like the UAE. So if they join Iran in targeting those countries' energy infrastructure, then problems go from worse. You know what it feels like? It feels like we're in one of those movies where the main character is sat there and is like, well, at least things can't get any worse. And then it goes, and it starts raining. The Houthis are the rain in this context. Alex, please, when I make the sound effects of the lightning, really add in there as well, because please. And speaking of war escalations yet again, that is not even where the updates end, because thousands more US troops have arrived to the Gulf region on ship, but also some by air. And this is at the same time where the Washington Post is reporting that the US is preparing for weeks of ground operations in Iran. This also comes at the same time that an Iranian parliament speaker said that the enemy signals negotiations in public, while in secret it plots a ground attack. Now let me make it clear, there's no official confirmation or even real solid indication from the US themselves that they will be carrying out an invasion in Iran. But at the same time, this does feel really familiar to how this whole war began in the first place. There were a lot of rumors, there were a lot of news reports. It could be happening. There was big buildup in the Middle East, but there was no confirmation that anything was going to happen. And then we woke up one day, boom, it started. So could this be a similar situation? Maybe, but we don't know. At the same time as this, Trump has told the Financial Times that he wants to, quote, take the oil in Iran, and that anyone in the US who opposes this is stupid. And the president also revealed that he is considering whether or not to take control of Iran's Kharg Island, which is actually where the suspected ground operations are speculated to potentially taking place. For those who don't know, that would be majorly significant because, this piece of land hosts Iran's most important, is Iran's most important oil terminal. And it's widely considered as the country's economic lifeline. So if US go in and there's three different things that it could materialize as. One, occupying the land. Two, executing a blockade of the island, or cutting it off. In fact, when I was researching this topic, I found an old video of Trump calling for this exact thing 39 years ago in 1987.
Why couldn't we go in and take over some of their oil, which is along the sea?
How would you do that? Would you send in the Marines? Would you take a chance in a war?
Let them have Iran. You take their oil. That's what
How?
How?
I mean, do we want a war? What do you mean we
in,
take their oil?
You go in. You're
how
gonna have
do
a
we
war,
go
Barbara.
in?
You're going to have a war by being weak.
Okay, how do we go in? What do we do?
Excuse me.
Yeah?
You're going to have a war, and it's going to start in the Middle East.
What if the Soviet Union said, you do this to Iran, we're going to come in?
I don't believe they'd do it. The next time Iran attacks this country, go in and grab one of their big oil installations, and I mean grab it and keep it, and get back your losses, because this country has lost plenty because of Iran.
That would be a significant blow to Iran. But at the same time, if the US actually had boots on the ground on this island, look at its positioning. It is right off of the coast, so they could become major targets for Iran's missile attacks, which also could result in a lot of loss of life, which really wouldn't go down well with the US public. But you want to know what one of the craziest parts is that while all of this is going on, we're not even sure how much the public in Iran actually know about any of it, because they are now entering their 5th week without internet. Just think about that. Most of us can't even go a day without checking social media about what's going on. I post 3 times a week, and you guys say, I need it daily. Now just imagine entering your 5th week. It's like crazy. In fact, their connection to the outside world is currently at just 1% of normal levels. And it's not even just that, because remember, before this, they had all of their internet cut as well because of all of those protests. So it's been a brutal couple of months for the people of Iran. Anyway, as always, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this entire situation in the comments. But for now, moving on. But now let's get into some updates of the consequences of this war from around the world. And actually, it's good, kind of good consequences. So as you know from your bank account, the price of fuel has just gone crazy, but particularly in Australia. Because of this, 2 Australian states, Victoria and Tasmania, have now made public transport completely free. Come on. Yep, well done. Victoria doing this for 1 month starting March the 31st. Who knows, they might have to extend that depending on how the war goes. And Tasmania are doing it all the way up to July the 1st. Pretty cool. Residents will be able to travel via trains, trams, and buses for free in the coming weeks. So let me know, would that be appreciated in your country too, considering the prices of fuel right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments, but for now, moving on. Also this weekend, huge US protests swept across the United States that marked the third installment of the No Kings rally. Now, the demonstrations were centered around Donald Trump's policies, the ICE operations, the rising cost of living, and of course, the war in Iran. There were over 3,000 separate demonstrations that took place, and it actually covered almost every single major US city. In fact, even some cities outside of the US joined in, including Paris and London. Now, according to the organizers, around 8 million people were in attendance, which would beat last year's of the estimated 7 million. But at the same time, we speak a lot about on this channel of how hard it is to accurately say how many people joined a protest. In fact, Alex, did we do our entire video on that once? I feel like we really stressed it. Organizers tend to way overestimate, while law enforcement tend to way underestimate. So it's really just, you have to see it and judge for yourself whether it was big or not. That's what she said. The organizer said that Trump wants to rule over us like a tyrant, but this is America and power belongs to the people, not to wannabe kings or their billionaire cronies. The White House responded to that, labeling the protest as Trump derangement therapy sessions, and that the only people who care about the demonstration are the reporters who are paid to cover them. And also, as you can see by this year's No Kings protest, this was by far probably the silliest in terms of like the costumes and the things that they were doing. I mean, you saw people really leaning into the comedic and less serious side. They were dressed up as what's become these like iconic frogs for some reason. A lot of them had different like meme costumes. Instead of ice, they did lice. And some of the organizers said that they did this just to try and make a mockery of the supposed king, because that's what you're not usually allowed to do in tyrannies. Make fun of the king. As always, thoughts in the comments, but for now, moving on. Also, since we last spoke, we saw one of the biggest heists in history when it comes to chocolate. Yeah, I bet you didn't expect that one. So recently, thieves carried out a robbery on a KitKat shipment in Italy, stealing more than 12 tons worth. Why? Apparently, they stole a staggering 413,000 individual KitKats. Oh, and also they were limited edition F1 bars. So they stole the truck too. Damn. Now, Nestle released a statement and they were kind of flippant. They were kind of chill about it for some reason. They said, "We've always encouraged people to have a break with KitKat, but it seems thieves have taken the message too literally and made a break with more than 12 tons of our chocolate." This is just like, might as well just use it for marketing at this point. Now you're speculating rumors of an inside job for taking it that unseriously, huh, KitKat? They also warned that the stolen KitKat bars could make their way into unofficial markets, so the black market. You know what? For the regulars of the channel, this reminds me of the story that we covered in the UK where chocolate theft has soared and they have to put it in the safety boxes because one of the quotes from one of the store owners is that chocolate has become the use case word for organized crime. Chocolate. We are cooked as a world. So it might not just be the UK that's dealing with their chocolate problems. It looks like the entire Europe. Moving on. Also, since we last spoke, Alex, cue the music. After 3 years of trial and error, setback after setback, the world's most comfortable hoodie has finally been perfected. Yes, the brand that me and Elliot, my brother, have been working on for over 3 years now. Finally, we're ready to launch, and our first is the hoodie that you guys have been asking about in every video, and I haven't been able to respond to any of it. In fact, if you look at Google Trends, every time I would post a video with it, the searches for UC hoodies spiked and they flatlined. I'll post again, spiked. So sorry for everyone that I didn't reply to your comments. There's even entire Reddit threads being set up looking for this hoodie. We took our time with it. We wanted to make it genuinely the most comfortable hoodie in the world. Between me and Elliot, we own almost every hoodie, from the biggest brands to the smallest brands. And this, I can 100% safely say, and I'm not just saying that because we made it, but the most comfortable ever worn, and it looks fantastic too. Alex, show them the inside. Yeah. I've been chilling here, feeling good this entire time. Anyway, we are releasing them in very limited quantities, and I'm not just saying that, it is actually very limited quantities, April the 4th, this Saturday. So if you want to pick them up, good luck, have a unluckycloud.com. Sign up now. But yeah, just even beside making it, I'm just so glad to finally have it out in the open because, boy, we've put so much time and effort into this. It's good that it's out there now. All right. Moving on. Also, in a case of a journalist being manhandled, I had to play you this because I watched this like 5 times. Alex, just roll the clip and then we'll talk about it.
Amazing. I don't think I can be a wrestler. All right. The mic pack did not survive, but I did, luckily. I know that looked worse than it was, but that was a lot of fun. I think I'm going to stay off the mat from now on. But Kennedy here, I just got to say, that felt like being thrown off of a skyscraper. And I don't know if I want to do that.
Are you okay?
That was awesome.
Are you okay?
I feel great. I feel like $1 million. Yeah, I'm okay. I feel like $1 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh man, I guarantee she had no clue that she was just gonna get maneuvered like that because she got up like laughing like, oh, that was so great. And then after a little bit sank in, because remember, this was live TV. She was having to do her job. And then after a little bit, she sank in and then she was like,
I feel like $1 million.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Holy, that felt like I was thrown off of a skyscraper. Petition for Alex to suplex me next time we meet. In the comments, signed by Dylan. And then petition for Dylan to attempt to suplex Alex next time we meet. Which might be funnier. Moving on. Also, in the latest content creator to be arrested, Claviclear. I'm never gonna get that right. There's some words in this world I will never be able to pronounce right. That is one of them. Well, he has just been taken into custody in Florida last week related to charges of battery involving a 19-year-old girl. And no, he didn't batter a 19-year-old girl. The nuance is he is being accused of instigating a fight between 2 young women and then posting a video of it online. One of them was his girlfriend and the other one was a girl who was hurt during the fight. This is... Alex must really hate having to edit this story. Now, he has since been released on a $1,000 bail, but he still reportedly faces 2 charges of a misdemeanor battery and criminal conspiracy to commit battery. Now, first-degree misdemeanors can result in up to a year jail time and fines in Florida, but it's pretty common with these kind of cases, apparently, that it results in just a plea deal, and he won't spend any extended time in prison. He was released. To Alex's dismay. Moving on! Also, my lord, if you guys ever had to be in court for almost anything, out of all of the judges in the world, this is the last one that you would ever want to be looking over your case. Because bro went from a 0 to 100 like this. I've never seen someone turn on their IT guy like this judge did. Roll the clip, Alex.
Of course you don't.
And you're disjoined from the audio here, right?
Yeah, should be.
Let me see. Sorry.
Mariah, did I make this up?
No. 5 seconds. 1 second. You don't have to go far. You're disjoined. Okay. Yeah, you're good. Okay. False alarm.
No, it wasn't a false alarm.
False negative. Sorry.
Don't joke around. I'm serious about this. It was happening. Again.
I understand. I'm just saying I can't see it, sir.
We're good. Thank you. Get out of my courtroom. Fine case supervisor. Jesus Christ. Sick and tired of this bullshit today.
God damn! Bro was not having a good day. I mean, to be fair on him, who knows the kind of day that he was having. Maybe the kind of details that he had to listen to in this courtroom. We don't know. But from what we've seen, the context that we've seen, that was out of order. And I hope that this poor IT guy did not get fired or any penalties for that because, sheesh, moving on. And then, last story, guys, you said that you loved the Today in History segment to round out the video, so Today in History. First up, today, 44 years ago, President Ronald Reagan was shot in the chest outside a Washington hotel in an attempted assassination, with the bullet very narrowly missing his heart by less than 1 inch. What is up with these assassination attempts on US presidents that miss them like this? Or like... That's crazy. Also today, 86 years ago, was the first time ever the world saw what Batman was. Yeah, he appeared in comics today for the first time ever. And fun fact, when he was debuted in these comics, he wore a red suit and he often carried around guns and he was not afraid to kill. Long way since then. And then lastly, also today, 211 years ago, was the defeat of Napoleon's forces, ending France's decade of control. And after a series of pretty brutal defeats, including their disastrous invasion of Russia, I don't even know about that one. And also the Battle of Waterloo, and Napoleon was exiled to St. Helena. So, that was today in history. And that is where we wrap. Get it in your calendars. Oh, of course, we'll see you on Thursday, but get it in your calendars, April the 4th. Big video coming with you tomorrow, Tuesday. It's been a video that we've actually been on and off working on for months. And Alex personally is frustrated with this video, but more on that in another time. But that is coming with you tomorrow. Then we've got another video on Wednesday. That's a surprise. Another video on Thursday. And then the last video on Saturday. Busy, busy week. Hope to see you all on tomorrow. Love you. Bye. And let's go! Kraken! Oh, that could have been bad.
What was that?
That hit the freaking light. That could have smashed. This is why we need the whip back!
Where is it?
They say it's like $300 for shipping.
Fuck off.